So welcome to our Movember edition of Men's Health. Thank you so much, everybody, for joining us this evening. Just wanted to set an intention for this collaborative effort of amazing leaders that have come together just to share the biggest challenge that we've had in our journey, and also some our 3 top tips as well. And we want to also provide a supportive forum for other blokes too. That's one thing that I've just found is so genuine and different, a point of difference in the doTERRA community. And of course, we're raising funds for Movember as well. So there's the link. Go to our team. I can't grow a mo, as you can tell. So
you need to get closer, Byron.
It's all about the lighting. Look, Mike's told me if I put the lights off, my mo looks amazing. Look at that. That or a bit of toe ball grease.
Yeah.
So our invitation for you tonight, guys, is just to leave with 3 things that you can implement into your life. Just keeping it simple. You don't have to implement everything that we're going to be sharing tonight. We're going to be sharing some oil-related and non-related oil-related tips. We also really encourage you to ask questions as well. We're going to have 1 minute of, which doesn't seem like a lot, of Q&A at the end of each of our speakers, but we also really encourage you to ask questions in the chat group, and each of the speakers can reply to you and provide resources and direction and things like that as we go along. We'll also save that chat and make it available for people to be able to access at the end of this webinar. And then at the end, we'll have a bit more time to go a bit deeper on some questions, and stick around for that. So that'll be awesome. So to start off tonight, I wanted to invite Zach Aurelius from Alive.love. He's a man in the doTERRA community that I really look up to, and he's just got such a beautiful, embracing and loving energy to both genders. So without further delay, I give great delight to invite Zach to the mic.
Thank you, Byron. So welcome, everyone, and I'm going to go straight into it. So I just wanted to start with a picture of my family, and just to touch on how blessed I feel to be a father and essentially a leader in this family. And here they all are. And I wanted to show this picture first because it kind of leads into, I've got this amazing blessing in my life to have a family, and it also has presented a challenge that I've never come across before. So this is us in our eco-village environment in Currumbin Valley. So Byron, if you take it to the next slide, bro. And so the biggest challenge that I'm experiencing at the moment is more of a mental challenge. Physiologically, I'm feeling really tip-top. And so what I'm finding, being a dad and a partner and a business owner, is that I often feel quite overwhelmed. There's a lot going on in this head. And I do prefer a lot more spaciousness. So some of the sort of side effects of that is apathy. Sometimes I just check out. It's like there's so many things going on. It's like I want nothing to be happening. Sometimes I feel really low energy because I just feel like there's so many things pulling on my energy that I'm just really drained. And when I do go into sort of more lengthened periods of feeling overwhelmed, I get triggered easily. So I don't want to be in that state with my kids or with my partner. Thanks, Byron. And then there's this purposeless that comes with that. So it's when, you feel like, well, what's the point? There's so many things to do. I'm not sort of completing any of them. So I wanted to share that as being one of the challenges that I'm facing. And there's a great question that leads me into where I'm going with this, and that is by a guy called Matt Kahn. And he said, don't ask who am I, ask who do I become when I don't get my way. And I can tell you when I don't get my way, I can turn pretty bad pretty quick. So what I wanted to touch on, if you go to the next slide there, Byron, is not what do I do when I sort all this out, because I don't know how long that's going to take. It's what do I do in the meantime, because I'm still a dad, I'm still a business owner. So I'm going to touch on these top tips and I'm sort of focusing on this mental, emotional place. And I've got my 3, which I'll go into: a positive attitude to self, abdominal centering, which is a little exercise I run you through, and aromatic dressing. And what I've got down the bottom there is these obviously have physical and biochemical benefits as well. So on to the first one, Byron. So I'm conscious of my time today. So number one. So I really think this is paramount, you know, having a positive attitude towards ourselves. I'm sure we've all experienced or constantly experienced these voices in our head that are doubting or critical of ourselves. And if we allow those voices to kind of run rampant, they really affect our lives. And so one of my declarations, when I can, because I suffer from them as well, but my declaration is that when I hear them, I silence them. They're not going to be the things that determine my attitude towards myself and my environment. They're not going to be things that determine my choices and my behavior. And so I've got this sort of spear in the sand relationship with those inner critical voice sort of comments. Being conscious of the dialogue that I direct at myself. So if I hear myself say something depreciating about myself or deflating in some way, I pick up on that and I pull that up. I'm not going to be someone who constantly speaks badly about myself. So I just pick up on that and turn that dialogue around. And then entering as many times as I can a place of forgiveness or self-acceptance. Because I really feel like self-acceptance is where we arrive at to build upon. And if we haven't come to a place of self-acceptance, we're still in the drama, we're still in the negativity of it, and it's depreciating or spiraling downwards. And I've just touched on there, that's not to be mistaken for tolerance. Tony Robbins has got a great quote, what you tolerate, you get more of. So I'm not saying that if we've got a bad behavior, we tolerate it and we continue it, but we just start at self-acceptance and then we improve upon it from there. So a guiding principle I've got for this first tip is, would I consciously say this to a child or to my children? So if I hear myself say something to myself, would I say that to my own kids? And if that's a no, then I'm not going to say that to myself either. And I think that, you know, when we do talk negatively to ourselves or at ourselves, eventually we end up projecting that on the ones we love anyway. So I think this is really important. So on to the second one there, Byron. So abdominal centering, let's just do it together right now because it's really easy. So just place a hand or two hands if you can, as long as you're not driving, upon the lower abdomen. So go half a hand width below your navel and just put your hands over that area. Allow the shoulders to drop. Take a deep breath and drop your awareness down into that abdominal area. You don't have to get sort of too meditative. You just take your awareness down into your abdomen and feel the breath move into that area. It can sometimes take a little bit of time. And just feel what state that creates within you, abdominal centering. So it brings us into a state of centeredness and calm. If you go on to the next slide there, Byron, I think I've got a couple of points on this one. So it gets us out of our head and into our body, and you might feel that sense of I'm more aware of my body. It's calming and grounding. It takes us into our power center. So when we're acting kind of crazy, when we get angry and distressed, often fear is present and we feel powerless in some way. So this reconnects us with our power and it connects us with our inner being while it's being able to engage the outer world at the same time. So I really advocate that tip. So the last one here is tip 3, which is aromatic dressing. Not the most manly term in the world, but I figure if I get dressed in clothes, then I can get dressed in oils as well. Healing power of touch. You know, they did a horrible test years ago. I think it was during one of the world wars where they didn't touch any of the babies that were born in a hospital. And the ones that were touched and loved survived, and the ones that weren't touched died. There was nothing intrinsically wrong with them. They just basically, humans need touch. And we can't always rely upon our partners or our children or other people to be the source of that touch. Also, the lymphatic system is like our body fluid management system is really essential. It's where the toxicity builds up. So when you rub the skin in a brisk manner in a circular fashion like this, it stimulates the lymphatic system and gets the fluid moving. It's energizing on a meridian-based level. So if I'm feeling a bit flat and I do this, I feel a lot more energized. It builds awareness of the body and creates what I call embodiment, where you actually are in your body. And if you guys have ever experienced, anxiety, anger, we come out of our body and into our head and we kind of explode or we get really nervous. But when we're in our body, we feel kind of grounded, and I've got the word presence there. It brings us back into presence. So when I touch my skin, it kind of brings me back into the now, into the present. And then in the video, I'm going to quickly show you to finish this off. I've coupled the lymphatic massage with, if you can keep that off, Byron, and I'll just voice over the top. So this is me on the deck in the morning. It's in the sunshine. Usually there's quite a brisk air. I don't move like that. I actually move a little bit more fluid than that usually. The birds are singing, and I'm just basically rubbing it onto the skin, and I'm creating lymphatic flow in the body. I'm awakening the body up. I'm getting my body energized. And then all the different properties of the essential oils that are in my blend are also going in through the skin, going into my body and improving my state. So it improves me on a mood level, on a physical level. And it's just the joy of actually kind of doing something that's invigorating in the mornings. So I just wanted to share that because it's so easy, 5 minutes and you're done. And when you see a guy doing it, it doesn't sound so feminine as when you hear the word aromatic dressing. And Byron, if you just pop to the last slide there, a simple goal that I want to finish with is live life feeling good. And so those tips I've given are things that allow me to feel good. And when I'm feeling good, I enjoy my life more, and I'm a better dad, a better partner, and a better businessman. So thanks for listening, gentlemen. I think that's my 5 minutes up.
Awesome, Zach. Love it, mate. And you make the aromatic dressing definitely look like a very masculine.
Nice. Thanks, brother. Did the mo help? I thought that might facilitate that.
Handlebars definitely throw us off there. And I love the little touch of the love heart that's stuck to your back as well.
Do you like that? Yeah.
This goes to show that you are an active dad, mate. I love it.
The kids keep us humble, don't they?
Awesome. Thanks you so much, Zach. Really appreciate it. Does anybody have any questions at all for Zach? Awesome. Got some comments there. Manning up. Aromatic dressing. I agree, Paul. Thank you so much, mate.
I thought it might be a mole on your back. I was just going to reach out and say, look, I'm worried about your skin health, and just go check that out because you might not be able to see it back there, but it's all good.
Thanks, Paul. It was just a love heart. I do that on occasion. It goes with the aromatic dressing.
Nice.
Yeah. Beautiful touch, mate. So our next bloke and legend I'd like to invite to the mic is Mike Harvey. And he's a physiotherapist. He works for New South Wales Health. And he has a business, essential oil business, like many of us do, Fall With Oils. And Mike's actually the instigator of this whole thing. So we can thank Mike for bringing this together. He approached me at a doTERRA event and said, hey, let's do a Movember thing. So here it is. Thanks, Mike. Take it away.
Thanks, Byron. Well, first of all, thanks to you to actually get all this together. Obviously, it was my mad and crazy idea to try and combine Movember and oils, and we've somehow managed to make it all happen. So thank you very much for that. All right, so yeah, as Byron was saying, I'm a physio. I'm a dad to two boys with special needs, and also a husband as well. And as you can see, I've got my three top tips on there. And I guess for me, it's really a combination of the three. It's not necessarily one that works on its own, and it's not necessarily because I'm doing anything particularly amazing. These are the things that particularly I notice that work for me. So exercise, it's a huge part of my life and always has been. Particularly, I've played a lot of competitive sports, cricket and American football and so on. And with the challenges that have come with having a family and not being able to have as much time as I used to, it's difficult to give yourself permission to take time. But it's a really important thing to do, to be able to say, yes, I need to actually take time for myself to be able to do the exercise, because it certainly makes me a much happier dad to be able to get in and do my exercise. Some of that is through playing team sports. I still try and get out to some of those, but also things like what we've got as part of the BroTERRA, which is the move promotion they're doing, trying to actually get you to keep track of how much you're moving throughout the month. And yeah, I've set myself a goal of 60 Ks to be walking and or running. And while obviously I think we haven't been able to get up to Byron's benchmark, at over 10Ks, I'll be definitely just getting in there and exercising all the same. But also, part of the team sport idea is using or having your teammates as a source of support. We don't necessarily think about it when we haven't got a family. We just kind of get in there and play sport and do our thing. But they're actually a great source of inspiration and help when things aren't going particularly well. And so it's really important to be able to just chat about things. I mean, you can see from discussions like this that people are open to the conversation, but you've got to start the conversation. If you don't start the conversation, you can't get any benefit from it. So whether that's teammates, whether that's health professionals, whether it's family or friends, it doesn't matter. But yeah, make use of the resources that you have, and you might be surprised how easy it is to access a lot of those. The second point I've got on there is lifelong vitality. Obviously, it's a fantastic product. I think probably the biggest thing for me is that I didn't realise how much of a difference it made until I stopped taking it. And I realised that I went back to having a lot more variation in my energy levels throughout the day. I'd struggle with my concentration a lot more, and I didn't get particularly unwell, but I just didn't feel well. And I think that the lifelong vitality just really gives you a lot more potential to do a lot of the things that you want to do. And that's really important, is to be able to make sure that you are able to perform or do the things that you want to do without taking it out of you, because you're not fighting against all these other things like the little sicknesses or the energy lulls that, as you're saying, Zach, when you feel tired and you don't have that energy, you get grumpy. And the LLV certainly has helped me tremendously in being able to level out all of those and be able to smooth over a lot of those ups and downs throughout the day. And the last point, it's probably something I've just come to a realisation recently. I was at a talk about resilience at work, and I didn't quite understand what that meant at the time, about how to make sure that you're able to get through adversity and benefit from it. And one of the things that I've come to realise from that was that I didn't really appreciate what the challenges from life have given to me rather than taken it away. I mean, I have two autistic boys, and they present a huge number of challenges every day. And it's not until you stop and you think back, and I like to think that my kids have actually made me a much better dad, I think, than I probably would have been if I didn't have the challenges, because I can appreciate the successes and the progress that they make much more because I've put so much work into being able to achieve any one of those. And I feel that I definitely pay a lot more attention to my kids than I guess I thought I would have if they weren't presenting the challenges that they do. And so from that sense, that's my advice, is the challenges that are presented to you in life, try and not just learn from them, but find out what they actually gave to you and actually get the benefit out of those lessons to be able to use in the rest of your life. And that's it. That's
awesome.
3 tips from me.
Thank you so much, Mike. I was just saying in the chat group there that I highly respect you and Sarah and the challenges that you guys have faced and the perspective that you guys have in your situation. So big respect for you, and it's some great messages that you've shared there. Does anybody have any questions for Mike at all? Him and his wife are an absolute walking encyclopedia of knowledge in regards to spectrum and special needs. So I don't want to open up Pandora's box there for you, Mike, but
go for it. Why not?
Yeah.
Open up another one.
you guys are amazing. So thank you so much, mate. Really appreciate your time.
All right.
So next to the mic is Paul Ovens from Team Alchemy. And Paul is a mentor and a very successful leader in doTERRA, and someone I've always looked up to. This may be a little bit scary, Paul, but I've actually got you pinned on my vision board here, mate. Really look up to you and and what you do. And people in my team always say, they give me a hard time saying that I've got a man crush on you, but hey, I'll own that. You got the stage, mate.
Thanks, mate. Hey, look, I told you I would do it. You didn't think I'd shave off the rest, but look, it's done, brother.
Awesome.
Brought my A game to the webinar for the day. Look, we probably all of us take LLV and love that. I really love this topic. It's something that's super close to my heart. At Christmas, it'll be 5 years ago, I lost my younger brother to, I guess the fallout of poor mental health. And, have been in a really bad place with my younger sister since then. But immediately after my brother passed, for the very first time ever, I found myself, trying to speak compliantly here, going down in a sort of low mood situation. And I'd never been like that before. So I developed a different level of appreciation for it, both from what I experienced with my family, but then also my personal experience. So since then, this has definitely been an area of great passion for me. That turnaround for me, definitely 100%, was starting to take LLV, and that's part of my daily regime now. I just believe that when I give my body the very best that I can, my body can do its best work, both mentally and physically. So if I know that I'm not getting that in my food, and it's just categoric, it just can't be done anymore to get full nutrition through our diet, it's so important. I partner that with, for what it's worth, DDR Prime and Mito 2 Max each day. So just in the morning, those ones. And I just totally different experience for me. So I do feel amazing on those. I don't want to make this a whole doTERRA kind of conversation, but I did want to work in and talk about what I use that I find really powerful to be able to support me on an ongoing basis, because these things are part of a critical part of how I'm able to show up in life and be there for my family, for my friends, for my business, for our team in the way that I do. And there are demands on you that are pretty big. The bigger this thing gets, sometimes the demands are pretty big. And people wouldn't really guess it in me, but I'm actually extremely sensitive and I internalize so much. Whereas my wife, who's sort of known as the more heart-based one, is probably tougher than me. So it's a tough one to sort of know that about yourself, but still have to be, what's required of you, I guess, out there in the world. So other things that I take each day, a couple of drops of frankincense under the tongue every single day. Peppermint in my water in the morning keeps me sort of, energetically, going, but also mental energy, gives me mental energy. And I think when stuff's coming at you, having good mental energy so you can think clearly and make good decisions is really important. And my final tip, I guess, on the doTERRA side is sleep is medicine, guys. Sleep is medicine. And if you aren't getting it or enough of it, you're going to be a crappy father, a crappy business person, a crappy husband, a crappy whatever it is that you do, because you just can't perform the best without that. And no amount of LLV or Mito 2 Max or anything is going to compensate for a decent amount of sleep. And I support my sleep with vetiver and lavender peace. Vetiver, just a rubber drop on my big toe. And I like lavender peace in the diffuser, or maybe a drop of both, a couple of drops of both in the diffuser. That's my kind of sleep remedy, or just to help me get into a good sleep. So that's that one. Enough of the product stuff. But next slide, please, Byron. Here's a few tips for me. Have a thing that you do that's just for you, and you need to have the guts and the gumption just to go to your family, your kids, your wife, whoever is relying on you for everything, and just say, if you want me to bring my A game and be the best for you and turn up the way you want me to turn up, I need to have this time. If I can do this, then you're going to get the best of me. If I can't do this, you're going to get the B grade or C grade version of me. And really, you know what that looks like when it's B and C grade. And is that really what we want for ourselves? Is that really what we want for our life? So you kind of just got to find a way to carve it out. And, the part about not compromising is finding a way to go and have that crucial conversation. It's not a difficult conversation, but it's a crucial one. Because if you can go and ask for what you need, I'll tell you what, my wife, she's really good at asking me for what she needs, I got to sort of I don't have to, but, I think I find myself trying to bend into shape to sort of make sure that I'm meeting everyone else's needs. And we often forget about ourselves, particularly if we're as men, you know, when we've got young families, we're probably the ones still out working or, you know, and doing those things. And then we come home and try and have some kid time and then have some partner time and all that. And then our time just disappears for maybe a decade there. So it's really critical that we carve that out as, you know, almost like it's an appointment in the diary. Do you know what? I mean, for me, it is paddleboarding, like that image you see there. So that's like in the diary. That's not I'll fit it in around when I can, because I've had things that I used to love doing that used to bring me joy, that made me a better person, you know, improved my mental health, that just all went by the wayside when the business got bigger or when the family kind of got more busy and all those things. So that's my tip there. Next slide, please, Byron. And this one is really critical for me. That's my son and I on a beach there. Maintain strong connections with those that you love unconditionally. The ones that you just, you know, that mean everything to you. Find a way to put them first and be there for them and them for you. You know, and if you're doing that, it really makes a big difference. The second point on there, it took me a long time to get to this point in my life, to be honest with you. I was the quintessential tough Aussie male, internalizing everything, not sharing the true part of me, the real truth. And it took until I actually made myself completely vulnerable with my wife that I could tell her everything about me, there's nothing that I couldn't say, that I felt actually better about myself than I'd ever felt. So, you know, I think that was a really critical thing for me in my mental health journey, to be able to, not that I've had really any super bad times, you know, but just to feel more comfortable in my own skin, to feel better as a man. And one thing that she's definitely taught me as part of that is to become aware of my own feelings and voice them. You know, like just actually, and I would give an answer. She'd say, well, what are you feeling right now? And I'd give an answer and she goes, that's not a feeling, that's a thought. You know, like, how do you feel? And I had to rewire my brain to actually, you know, be in touch with the feeling side of myself. Because I would just, well, I'm thinking this, or, you know, I think that. And, you know, that made a big difference for me to be able to actually come aware of how I'm feeling, because, you know, as soon as you sort of name it, then you know what's going on, and then you can make conscious choice to shift out of it. You know, go and do the thing you love doing, or go down the man shed for a minute, or whatever the thing is for you. So they're my tips. I think that's my slides, Byron.
Beauty, Paul. Thank you so much, mate. Some great messages in there about scheduling time and having that crucial conversation. And I had to have a little bit of a laugh. I think we all did when you were sharing that our partners, they don't have a problem telling us what they want, right? Yeah, I hear you. So, yeah, we've also got to tell them what we need as well to show up as an awesome dad, partner, father. Thank you so much, mate. Really appreciate that.
Thanks for the invite.
Does anybody have any questions for Paul at all? Type them in the chat, or take yourself off mute. Please feel free, or save them towards the end. It's all good. We'll move right along then. So next up we have Anthony Bartolo from Healthy Munchkins, who's an all-around top bloke. I met him recently at Diamond Day. And he's more recently been providing me with some ninja skills, as you'll see on Facebook. So without further delay, please take it away, Anthony.
Okay, here I am. Can everyone hear me?
Sure can, mate. Yep.
Okay, cool. Okay. No, I just can't see where it's at. I'm not in that little picture, which I'm used to. So first of all, thanks so much for inviting me to this. I already feel inspired. I mean, just hearing the info that everyone else is already saying is just, it's really, really inspiring, and I feel joy just being joined in. So I guess we'll start with gratitude. I mean, I don't really have any sort of major thing I do out of the points I'm giving, so they're all even. So gratitude is probably a perfect way to start. And gratitude certainly isn't always easy. I know that there are certainly going to be times when you just feel everything's gone to crap and you're not grateful for anything, and it's really, really hard to just sort of dig deep and think, okay, what can I do to get myself out of this funk? You know, what is there that I can find joy in to really sort of turn that page and move myself forward. So I think, there are certain things, when I sort of feel that way, and what I do You know, I'm lucky. I have an amazing supportive family, both my immediate family and friends. And, you know, one thing we do every night at dinner is, you know, we just simply take turns and say, okay, you know, what are you grateful for today? What have you done today that you're happy? What's the best part of your day? And really, you know, appreciate all the little things, you know. And, you know, maybe you've had a crap day, but, you know, but maybe something good happened yesterday. Maybe something good happened last week, you know. And if you can at least draw onto that and draw on the feelings that you had at that time, you know, that can be enough to maybe just bring you into the into that next point where you can start maybe finding something today that wasn't, you know, so bad, I guess. You know, like, so where I've put here sort of find the small joys. You know, you may not have got a big pay rise today. You may not have, you know, leapt over a building today, but you might have got a perfect parking spot, you know, and, you know, be appreciative of that. I got a great spot today, you know. I was the first one in the building, and, you know, if that's enough to make you smile, then those little small things, you know, can be the first step onto maybe appreciating and, you know, just moving yourself forward, I guess, out of that headspace that we do get into sometimes. So, yeah, so there's so much to be grateful for. I think, you know, you only have to turn on the news, which we don't watch the news. I don't let my kids watch it because it's horrible, but you just have to look at it to realize that, you know, 99% of us have a lot to be grateful for, even though it's maybe not always easy to find that. So that's my first thing. We're going to the next slide. What do we got next? Now, I know this has already been talked about, the lifelong vitality, the TerraZyme, the DDR Prime. I guess a quick way for those who may not have had lifelong vitality, I guess my thoughts behind it is that we quite often live in a very reactive society. We go, oh, I feel sick, so I'm going to do something, as opposed to saying, how can I support myself to avoid getting that sickness in the first place? And for me, that's where I guess the supplements and those sort of things come in. So, you know, we have our lifelong vitality every day. And if I think back to how we were before when we used to own the cafe, you know, I'd be up at 5 o'clock in the morning. I'd get home from the cafe at, you know, 5 o'clock at night. Alison would be going out to run a workshop. So I'd be then, you know, looking after kids, doing dinners, and I'd just simply fall asleep just reading them a story. And then I'd wake up at 11 o'clock at night, you know, sort of in the bed, and I'd just go to bed, and I would lose that time for me. And so life became, you know, a sort of a cycle of working all day, getting home, working, and falling asleep without actually getting that me time. So, but the vitality changed that, you know, so the days were just as busy, but I was just able to keep that level that little bit longer. So I was getting my evenings back. You know, I still wasn't sleeping enough, but at least mentally I was getting a little bit more time to do what I needed, which was just a positive thing. That's, I guess, my short little vitality story. TerraZyme for me is just, ideally we'd eat an all raw food diet where everything got digested properly, but, you know, in real, you know, to be realistic, that's not our life. And I eat crap sometimes. So I just find that by having the TerraZyme with every meal, I just feel better. I don't get that after lunch slump, and I can keep going through the rest of the day. DDR, you know, I think that's already been talked about, just a bit of helps with the mental clarity. Deep Blue for me is a lifesaver. I've had 3 knee operations. I've got sort of bone-on-bone osteoarthritis, but I skateboard. And, you know, so this is just one of those things that if I'm going to get out there on the board, I need support. And so I'll wear my knee brace, but I'll apply that Deep Blue, and that allows me to at least get out there and enjoy it. Maybe not to the level I was at 20 years ago, but I still get out there. And I guess, you know, being able to get out there sort of ties back to what Paul was talking about, was being able to, you know, get that time for you and do that thing you love. And absolutely, like you were saying, you know, when you do that and, you know, do whatever you need to do to be able to do that, you just operate on a better level for everyone. And then just, yeah, low tox grooming products. I think, everybody, well, maybe not everybody, but I'm sure a lot of the people who are watching this, know how much crap is in a lot of the products we buy off the shelf. So if we can use a lower tox product, I'm all for it. And Amavi is my aftershave now. And if I even smell a traditional aftershave, I gag now. Whereas I used to love that shit. It was sprayed on me all the time. Everybody smelled me. But God, not anymore. I can't stand it. I can't stand it. So yeah, a pure fume, as the ladies like to call it. I don't know how we'd call it for a man. But yeah, definitely.
Man fume.
Man fume, a pure man fume. That sounds a little bit dodgy.
That could definitely be taken the wrong way.
Yeah, I could. And then I guess my last thing, and this is only something that I've really sort of started doing lately, is we got a Shakti mat. And if nobody's tried it, if anyone hasn't tried it, it's phenomenal. It is, it's what it's done is it's forced. I've never been the sort of person to meditate or really do that, and this has really brought this aspect into my life, and I am loving it. I'll just put on a guided meditation for 10 minutes, just lay back with the lights off, some headphones on, and just relax. And it's helping me with sleep. It's giving me so much more energy the following days. I just feel better. And, when you look into it, it's I guess, the best way to explain it is it's almost like a modern day bed of nails. It's the principle is the same. And so when you lay on it and you've got all these pricks in your back, it just causes, the blood to flow everywhere in your body. And, you get that circulation, you get that healing throughout your body. And, I'm just going to keep it brief, but, if you have access to one, give it a shot. And if you don't, just get one. I think they're about $60. And even if you just use it a couple times a week, you would notice a difference. Notice a difference in your sleep. Notice a difference in your energy. So it's really good. And it just gives you that, it's another way, I guess, of getting that sort of, little bit of extra time to yourself to focus your mind. You think about the day, or you just lose all your thoughts. There's really no rules, but it's something that's definitely worth trying.
That's awesome, Anthony. Thank you so much, mate. Really appreciate that. Some great tips, especially what resonated with me was your gratitude. And journaling is something that I love to do. If I just feel like I'm in the funk a bit, just a bit neggo on life, I just do 3 positive gratitudes on a daily basis. First thing, as soon as I wake up in the morning before my lemon water, and that just really gets us in that positive train of thought. And of course, the man fumes, I'm not sure if that's a good or a bad thing, but totally agree with you on the Amavi there, mate. I love it. I hope they make it a permanent line. That'd be awesome. So I'd love to invite to the mic Tim Carnell. Once I find who's graffitiing over the screen, I'll ban the spray can. But Tim, as you can see, he's a jet fighter pilot of the Movember crew. He's going to the danger zone with this Mo, and he's taken it all the way. So Tim from the Essential Collective, take it away, mate. It's all yours.
Thanks, Byron. G'day, blokes. Nice to be here. I'm really grateful to be here. I think Movember really means something to me. Has for a number of years. I've supported it for quite a while. I still do find it a little bit difficult to talk about, but for a number of years I went through some pretty serious depression and anxiety, which, was challenging. It was quite difficult. But through a number of different aspects, we managed to push through, and I've come out the other side bigger and better. I think one of the things of being able to do that is to understand and to own it a little bit. Not just push it under the mat, but to openly talk about it where you can. That's sort of my driver for being here, and I really appreciate the opportunity. The three things that I'm going to talk about them as my wellness influencers, because that's what I think they are, as a combination of things, or each individually. I think that they really influence what my mental wellness and overall physical wellness goes. And the first one is vitamin C. The ocean saltwater therapy is just absolutely unbelievable. I'll talk about balance in particular, and then some supplements. So Byron, if you just move forward, thanks. We live in the Fleurieu Peninsula in South Australia, which is around about an hour south of Adelaide. And where we are, we're so lucky to have the most amazing coastline. And where we live is close to some great surf beaches down at Middleton and Middleton Point, where you'll quite often find me falling off my mow. I'm a shit-house surfer, but my daughter is a little gun. So her and her mates are tearing up the lip out there on the point. I'm trying to get back on my board and get back out the back as the quintessential old man kook, but hey, it's great fun. But probably more so my happy place is in Port Elliot at a little bay called Horseshoe Bay, which is where we're part of the life-saving club there, and I have taken my opportunity to do my fitness campaign, the things that really mean something to me, and that's go ocean swimming. I think, I don't know if you can just move it on again. I'm lucky enough that that doTERRA is now my full-time job. I was in a high-travel, high-stress corporate job for the last 11 years, and as of March this year, I've been lucky enough to call doTERRA my full-time job. And what that does is it gives me that work-life balance. It gives me the opportunity to be able to, at 10 o'clock every morning, to go out and jump into Horseshoe Bay and follow some of these little tracks around. So probably 3 to 5 times a week, you'll find me out here tracing one of these little groups, somewhere between 8 and 1,200 metres, just over the half an hour. So the swimming in the ocean, I think, is incredible, because everyone knows that feeling that salt water gives you. It's just, it washes over you, and for me, it really allows me to sit in there, to be completely isolated when I need to be, and use my brain to re-energize myself and to completely refocus. I often swim and I just think, that's my time for gratitude. I'm able to just turn off all of the stress, all of the negativity, and I'm able to be positive and give gratitude throughout here. So so this is a really great opportunity. I know a lot of you guys are in Queensland and in New South Wales. Let me tell you, this beach, the next thing down south is Antarctica. So there's nothing warm about it. I'm out there still in my heavy wetsuit, getting an ice cream headache every time I go in the water, which is only, I think, 17 or 18 degrees at this stage of time of the year. So it's fun, but it's great. What this gives me, and what I think is really important, is the camaraderie and the mateship that all men need, and a lot of men don't have. I think that through our 30s, career and family and all these things take priority, and Mike said it and Paul said it, and everybody has at some point got to the point where the time for you, the time for your mates disappears, because you're busy, they're busy, and it all just falls apart. But it's I think it's critical that we all have that person to be able to talk to, and that's why I love the group that I swim with. A lot of them are older men, to some my age, but there's banter, there's community, and I think that's important for all guys, just to have those people that you can talk to. You may not give them, or this group particularly, they may not be, you're the deep-centered people that you're going to tell your deeper secrets to, but they do give you the voice and community, and they're good to be able to just to share your general feelings with, which is great. And the banter is great, isn't it? Banter between blokes. That's when Byron said at the start that I was a fighter pilot. So the other day I had a swimming cap on with my goggles on my head, and someone goes, "Hey, Biggles, what time does the Spitfire take off?" Because, with that and the old World War II fighter cap, and nearly twirly. So yeah, so that's the thing that really gives me great joy is just being in the ocean. The next one, Byron, please, is really simple. Balance. How can we not live without balance? I have balance everywhere. When I first joined doTERRA, or when Sam first started doTERRA, probably without me, yeah, see, Clint, thank you, in the middle of nowhere, a bottle of balance. So yeah, for balance for me, it was my very first time that I'd gone from just having a diffuser in the background to actively working on with an oil topically. And I can remember the minute I did it. We just arrived in Brisbane Airport. We were going on a cruise, and our bags didn't arrive. Or they did arrive, and some other bugger had taken them off the carousel and gone. So I was starting to break down, and Sam just put this bottle in my hand and said, just try it. And I tried it, and I've never put it down. I've never put it down. I've got one in my car, got one in the bedroom, got one in the office, everywhere they are. So what I encourage you guys to do is, whether it be balance or whether it be, a Mavi, another great blend, whatever it is, find that one oil that resonates with you and go with it. I think that Vanessa Jean, Paul, talks a lot about aromatic anchoring and bringing that, that aroma back to positive memories. And that's how I use this. Every time I have balance, which is quite often, I bring it in, I smell it, and I take myself back to somewhere that's really positive. So, grounding blend. I never understood what that meant. But if you use balance a lot, I think that everyone understands how it does recenter you, bring you back in, the fortifying side of things. So I just ask all of you guys, as one of your 3 things, to look out for an oil, whether it's a citrus, something light and fresh, or a woody blend. Find the one that works for you and run with it. And the last one for me is, again, LLV. I know we must sound like a broken record, but I promise you that we all did these videos individually. We got together last night and we were surprised. Not surprised that we all take it, but surprised that was one of the strongest links. I was a yo-yoer with LLV for a long time. I would take it here and then I would drop it off and I would come back on and take it off. And exactly like Mike said, I couldn't echo it more, is that I don't think I realised how much benefit it was doing until I came off. And it's the week after when you haven't been taking it or you've missed it out, where you realise that you're feeling down, you're flat, you don't have the energy. So if I can just make one comment, it's just take it. Just take it. It's easy. It's about forming habits. We form habits for everything we do. And I think LLV, once that becomes a habit for you, really is a really strong one and excellent for us all. Good. So that's all I've got to say. Just as a parting note, just don't be too serious. Sometimes you've got to have fun. Just this is our state title surf lifesaving junior group last year, and we have an ice cream and jelly and shaving cream fight at the end of it. And get involved, get into it with your kids. Be silly, be fun, and just enjoy your life, because it's too short otherwise. Thanks, Byron.
Awesome, Tim. Thank you so much, mate. And hats off to you for getting in those icy waters. We're just having a little bit of a joke about dodging sharks, and it's I love the ocean too. And it's funny, whenever somebody says to me, "Oh, what about the sharks?" I just go, "Just don't think about them. Just swim. Just do your swim, do your surf. You don't think about it. If you don't, what you fear, you bring near, right? So just don't think about it."
Exactly. No, I'm lucky that I don't have that phobia of sharks. There are several sharks around where we live, but haven't seen one yet, so that's a win.
Awesome, and thank you for being so open and vulnerable, mate. Really appreciate that as well. I'm sure there's every one of us that's on this call has had a period where we've felt down, we felt in the dumps, and it is so important to have that camaraderie, that friendship, to lift each other up. So yeah, really appreciate it, mate. Thank you so much. So next to the mic, I'd like to invite Clint Proud, or he's been dubbed Clint Coit. He's out on the road. He's fixing gearboxes and And he's probably struggling as much as me, so I'm glad I'm not the only one in the crew that struggles with the Mo. But thank you so much for joining us tonight, Clint. Take it away, mate.
No, mate. Yeah, thanks for having me. And yeah, I do. As you can probably see, I do quite struggle with the growing of the facial hair. What you're looking at is dead set. Probably the best part of 18 months worth. So yeah, I need all the help I can with your blend. But yeah, thanks again. Thanks for having us. Like others have said, mate, thanks for putting all this together for us. It's been a great place, and obviously the actual group itself has been pretty entertaining. So thank you. But yeah, just yeah, obviously I'm as you can see, a little bit out in the middle of nowhere at the moment. We're kind of on a bit of a trip around Oz and heading home for Christmas. But I apologise if the service cuts in and out. But I had to get out to try and escape the kids a little bit, just for some peace and quiet. But yeah, so this is, as you can see by the slide, this is my first little tip was an introduction for the oils into my life. So at first it was a little bit hard, I guess, to sort of take on board with where to begin. I guess that was the biggest sort of thing I struggled with it all. But eventually I kind of I just persisted, I guess, with trying different things and what sort of worked for me. So the biggest things that I sort of tended to find was that it was just to not overcomplicate things. So there's oils for everything, and there's products and supplements, and there's a whole bunch of different stuff that when you're sort of first kicking on can get a little bit overwhelming. But just the best thing I learned out of that was just to start somewhere and pick a thing and pick a particular product and run with that, and just see where it took you on your journey on what you were looking for. So whether it was with some particular illness or with a supplement range, like many have mentioned their LLV, just maybe start with the LLV on its own. It's a little bit, I still struggle to try and remember to have it on that regular basis. I've actually got the chemist, the little old people's pill packets to try and nut out like 2 weeks worth of morning and afternoons. And it was probably the most success I've had. But yeah, I do tend to slip in and out a little bit. So my key tip is just for the results, be consistent and just don't overcomplicate those things. And then again, keep them practical, like I did with those chemists, those little packs, the pill packs. So to keep it right there, you wake up in the morning and it was very accessible. And I found definitely with working the little keychain picture you can see, I picked sort of the top 8 or 10, whatever I could squeeze into that little the keychain pouch there, and I would just fill them up with my favourites. And as throughout the day, as I sort of felt I needed a particular thing, I would just reach into that. It's always on the keys. You always got your keys in your pocket, or you always got your keys on your desk if you're at work. And I found that was probably, by keeping them accessible like that, I used them more often. So that was, probably 2 of my little tips there. So maybe just over to slide 2, if that's all right, Byron. So this one was probably, for me on my journey here, was not necessarily the hardest aspect, but it's one I definitely hear a lot about. A lot of people struggle to try and, sort of see where to come in to a business like this, where predominantly it is, I guess, a female initiated business. A lot of women will come into the journey first, and it's sort of while things are progressing and while things are going, it is often hard for I guess for the guys that are on the other side of that, where there may not be the finances straight away, there may not be the results, but there's definitely the work going in that is freeing up a lot of your other half's time, I guess. So for me, I sort of not necessarily resisted it, but it was definitely difficult to see the bigger picture of what was happening. So for me, as one of the top point there was my wife Rachel. She was working at that bigger picture, that sort of dream life for us, long before I really held it in my mind. Like, always sort of been pretty very heavily work based my life, I guess. I've done a lot of work and done a lot of things for myself, and we've always worked hard for it. But to looking at where Rachel was going, my wife, with this, it was far bigger than what I'd ever initially thought possible. So once I sort of let that down, I kind of got out of my own way there. I stopped resisting and started assisting, and it's been the best sort of couple of years of my life, being able to sort of step into this role where I am now, officially retired from the police force and doing this full time. So we're traveling on the road whilst running a business, and I'm able to be a big part of that, which is great. We're now very aligned in what we're doing, and we're both moving in the same direction. We both have the same dreams, same goals for our business and for our team, and we're doing the work necessary to bring it into light. So that was the biggest thing for me. I guess next slide, if that's all right. And so this one has been touched on throughout this call already, but I guess it's necessary for, even though you are sort of, a lot of us are getting, we're in this business as well with a partner, it's definitely still necessary to just keep doing you. You got to make sure that you're still setting those personal goals for yourself and having your own purpose for, where you'd like yourself to go. And a lot of that's all to do with that self-development and that personal growth. So one of the biggest things, I got out of this journey was still do the work for yourself. So it is easy to sometimes, I did sort of struggle a little bit with coming into where I fit into the picture. And it took a lot of self-development on my end. And I did a lot of work there to find my place. Obviously shifting from a full-time job into, showing up here at a level that maybe a lot of men might feel they struggle to sort of step into, and their partners may have already reached a certain level within the company, and they're already well-established leaders. People can struggle to sort of find their place when they come in. So do the work that's necessary for you to really take that on board and move through that, so you can step up and show up at the same level that your partner's already bringing. But a big thing for me, you can see in the two pictures down there, the one on the far left was me before I finished work. This is, I'd done a lot of work. I was a painter for many, many years of my life, for the first sort of 12 years of my working life from the age of 15. And then all of a sudden, I just decided that I wanted to be a police officer. So I went and ran away at the age, I think it was like 25 or something like that, and joined the police force and spent the best part of 8 years moving through the police force. And that was part of my personal growth and my progression. I moved on from a police, just the general duties officer, in through the detectives, and ended up in child abuse. I saw that as a very was a sort of a big thing for me to aim at, and I guess that was that personal development for me, moving on to an area I never ever thought I could go. But yeah, in doing that, it really taught me a lot, and it really allowed me to grow. But I guess a few things for there. I don't have another slide, but I was thinking some tools there that a lot of people would struggle with in some pretty high stressful jobs. A lot of people are still, working, may not have let go of their job just yet to jump into the, 100% into the oils business. But a lot of things, some things that worked really well for me that I thought I'd just share is that anchor, like Tim just mentioned. Find that product for you that you can really anchor with, that can get you through some stressful times. Like for me, it is that balance as well, Tim. So thanks for that. I love balance. I also love motivate. It's never very often I'm anywhere without the two pretty accessible. They're always in the car, but Copaiba is a big one as well. It's a very, very, I guess, a relatively new one on the market. But also I found I did a lot of traveling to work. So a lot of hours spent in the car, did an hour and a half nearly each way. The biggest thing for me was that Audible, download the Audible app and just pick an author and just, really someone you resonate with, or someone that's, you really find, on that whole self-development or motivational or inspirational, buy their books and just listen to them whenever you get a chance, because it turned my mundane driving of, nearly 3 hours a day into I could nearly get a book done. And you're learning so much, and you're progressing as you go, and you're making a really good time from nothing, so instead of wasting that, that's what I did. But I guess someone else also touched on it, is that one of the best things you can do is find yourself someone you can talk to. For me, I was always pretty lucky. I was always surrounded by pretty good people, especially being in the force and in the detective, especially that detective's office. There was some really good people there, so a lot of good mentors come out of there, and a lot I still keep in touch with to this day, even though I'm no longer there. I've been out of there for over a year now, and I'll still reach out and I'll still speak to them about where I'm at in my life and where I'm progressing and what's going on for me, even though it's completely unrelated. But definitely they're sort of my tips for this Movember call, so hopefully he's got some out of it.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Clint. Really appreciate it, mate. And thanks for bringing up the topic as well about where we fit into this whole doTERRA adventure. It's a topic that is very common amongst us dudes, being usually the ones that get sort of tagged along in the process. It's more likely to be the wife, the partner that brings the oils into our life. So it's really good to hear your journey and how some of the tips you shared, we can integrate them too.
You're welcome. Thank you.
Champion. Thank you so much, mate. You've got good, those trees in the background must be those new Wi-Fi trees.
Yeah, it's definitely they are. I can see them up there. There's some big trees.
Those trees.
Wicked, mate.
Yeah,
So, Tim?
It must be. Telstra trees.
Telstra trees. They're doing good work out in the bush. Thank you, Telstra. Thank you, Scott. All right. So last up, we have Steve, the Iceman Richards. That'll make sense once he goes through the slides from Lee and Steve, Alternative and Holistic Health. So thank you so much, Steve. The mic is yours, my friend. Okay, just got a couple of... Trying to unmute you here, Steve. We can't hear you, mate.
How about that?
That's better.
Yeah, nice.
Beautiful.
Hey guys, how's it going? I was just saying thanks to Byron and Mike for putting this together. And it's feels like such a privilege to be a part of this group with just, a whole bunch of dead set legends that are just bringing some light to something that needs to be spoken about, and, gents that are doing something positive in the community. So obviously, these products have probably been spoken about at length and at nauseum, the LLV, but I'll just give you my little rundown on it. I use the LLV and the Deep Blue polyphenol. I come from a carpentry background, so I like to call it my shagger's back, but it's not really. It's my carpenter's back, and had heaps of trouble with it. And I find that these three products just keep it at bay. It's amazing. It manages the pain and also my mood. It's like Paul said, if you're cranky and you've got kids, that's the last thing you want. And I've got 4 kids. We homeschool them, so I'm bombarded with questions every second of every day. So the other point there I've got there is I feel like it keeps me on the straight and narrow. And by that, I mean, I don't drink anymore. I used to be a massive drinker back in the day. And I've found that since I've converted to this lifestyle, away from the trade lifestyle, which was really sort of centered around the drinking, Thirsty Thursday, Friday afternoon drinks, Saturday, Sunday, it was a real common thread. And once I broke through that and went away from all of that and got stuck into this sort of stuff, I find now that if I do have a beer, that's about it. And it's something that's really, it's a massive Australian cultural thing for dudes to do, is just to get on the piss and go downhill, into that spiral. So yeah, that's my 2 cents for the LLV and the Deep Blue. Something else that was probably the catalyst for me to, get involved with doTERRA was BroTERRA. I was a notoriously bad sleeper. and vetiver was a thing that I just found knocked me out. I combine it with frankincense. It's good for my nerves, good for relaxation. It grounds me. And the last product that I want to talk about and touch on is peppermint, which is something I use every day. And I just use it like Paul, just for a pep up. I put a drop in my mouth this morning. Just before coming on here. One went in and an extra one came out and dropped on my chin. So my chin's been on fire for like the last half an hour. And I just find that it opens me up and freshens me up. So yeah, get hold of peppermint if you can. If you could flick through, Byron, I've got 3 points that I'll just whip through. First thing I do, these are just a couple of little daily habits that I do. My first thing is water. It's the first thing I do when I get up. I rehydrate and remineralize. I make sure that I've got good quality water, reverse osmosis if you can get your hands on it, or some really good filtered stuff and get some of those nasties out of it. Some good quality Himalayan salt. And I just put pink pepper and lemon in there, obviously for my metabolism, and it just tastes good. So I smash down, a massive big water first thing in the morning just to rehydrate. Second slide or third slide, whatever it is, Byron. This is something I've just started to touch on in probably the last, 6 weeks, 2 months, is some cold water therapy just to stimulate the body, awaken the cells. I obviously don't go to as much effort as Wim Hof does here and, get myself in a massive big ice bath like that. I keep it pretty simple. So that might just be, something as easy as just jumping in the shower and just smashing it over to cold straight away and just copping that full blast. I know, Tim, you probably, just jump in the ocean and cop it. It's a bit warmer up here. So, and it's getting warmer as well. So I'm going to have to start investing in some ice, I think. But I just find it's something that you've just got to do as well. There's no point sort of umming and ahhing. You just got to bloody flick that switch and cop the blast. And I just find that once I do that, obviously, you've got to get that oxygen in, just enliven and awaken the body. And the last thing that I do as a daily habit is same as Anthony, is the Shakti mat. If you guys can get your hands on one of these, it's been a bit of a game changer for me, the Shakti mat, in combination with the meditation and the music, the binaural beats. I just 20 minutes on this thing every day. I find that it's a bit of a pain to lay down on for that first 30 seconds a minute, but once you can sort of sink into those little beds of nails, it's a pretty interesting sensation, and it really does narrow your focus into where it needs to be. And I just combine that with, some 432 or 963 hertz. You can find them on YouTube. Find something that works for you. I've been through a whole bunch of different stuff and have sort of settled on this range. And I just use that to focus, create, manifest, and let go, which I find that I need to do a lot of, having 4 children peppering me all day, every day. It's my time. That's it. I just keep it short and sweet and let you guys sort it out. But yeah, it's just, I just think it's a fantastic forum that, guys to get together and actually talk and have real conversations about how they're feeling and what's actually on their mind, share their dreams, share their aspirations, instead of just talking surface shit, football, booze, chicks, whatever. Let's, get down and rally around each other and actually have a conversation about stuff that means something. So I think this is a really great place to do that. And that's me done, Byron.
Thank you so much, Steve. Really appreciate it, mate. So you can see why we call him the Iceman now. I totally agree. I end each of my shower. This is one really good way to get that cold therapy, is after a hot shower, crank the cold full ball, turn off the hot, and just soak it up. For me, I love that. So give it a go. You may not be as much of a man physically after the cold blast, but hey, it's all cool. No pain, no gain.
Gets easier the more you do it.
Exactly. So I'm just going to end it off with a couple of little tips here, guys. So for me, I really struggled with stress, anxiety, depression and insomnia. And I was just sharing before we jumped online, I've actually had a lot of the men on my father's side of the family pass away way too soon. And this is what this initiative is all about, is just stopping guys from dying too early. Had my two uncles on my father's side pass away at the start of this year, and my cousin this last week, and he's only 40. So it really became important to me to want to change this shift. My dad's dad passed away early. I don't plan on doing that, right? So I was introduced to the Power of Now around the similar sort of time that I came into the oils, and a friend of mine said, hey, you should read this book. He didn't really say much else, but I had a really profound experience when obviously using oils, getting grounded, escaping the mind and connecting to breath and body consciousness. And this is a tool that I use very regularly now if I'm faced with a stressful situation. It might be, big surf, or it could be, talking in front of a crowd of people, or maybe even just asking or answering those bombardment of questions from the little one and the wife, etc. So number one tip is really just get connected to your breath, be breath aware. It's my number one tip in health. And I've actually realized I've got two number one tips here, rest and stress management. And these are things that I feel should be prioritized before exercise or before movement. And exercise is something that I'm really passionate about. I've dabbled in a little bit of personal training, as well as working in IT before I got into the oils. But being well rested, and just as Paul was saying, look, this is the goal. We got to be getting really good rest to be able to function at our highest level. And for men, that's 7 hours at minimum. And for women, that's 8 hours. So if we can really get into this deep theta restful state every night, using the vetiver on the big toe, lavender piece on the bottoms of the feet, back of the neck, diffusing it. I've got this stuff that's cranking everywhere when I go to bed, just so I can get some good rest. Also read 10 pages of a good book as well. Water and diet. This is also a priority for me. You've probably seen me drinking water, and some of the other guys have been talking about how they integrate water. I start every single day with lemon in my water. So just 3 to 4 drops of lemon in 500 to 600 mils of good alkaline water. Tap water is a start, but there's a whole bunch of stuff in there that you probably don't want to be putting into your body. And we all know about diet. Like, I don't need to rattle on about that. We know what we need to be eating. And we can also supplement that with the lifelong vitality, as we've seen throughout this presentation. So recently, as you can see, I do have a bit of a passion for reading with my habit that I do on a daily basis. And this is something I can really thank doTERRA for. I attended my very first leadership retreat in Byron Bay. We went to the Byron at Byron, and I was Byron. So that was pretty special. And I had Justin Harrison, who was presenting about the slight edge, and he invited us to implement reading 10 pages of a good book on a daily basis. And this is something that I've done ever since, to the best of my ability. Yeah, there's going to be days that slips. We're also gifted this book, The Happiness Advantage, by Adam Berry, doTERRA's general manager. And I found this really good. There's some great tips in there about activation, energy, and keeping it simple and making it easy to achieve. Don't say, right, I'm going to go and run 10 Ks tomorrow, and then burn yourself out, and then you can't walk 2 steps the day after. Just make it really simple, ease into it, and make it easy to achieve. So if it means going to bed in your gym wear and having your gym shoes on your bedside, or your running shoes on your bedside, then do that. So as soon as you wake up in the morning, you are implementing one of these healthy routines into your life. And another thing I just wanted to touch on as well that I find really important, when a lot of men in common say to me, how do you stay on the wagon? How do you prevent yourself from falling off the wagon? And my best tip there is just your knowing and your philosophy. You know what makes you feel good. You've just got to do it, as simple as that sound. And you may not feel motivated to do that when you first wake up in the morning, is to go and run. And there's some days you don't feel like running or going for a swim, but just do some form of movement. It could be Surya Namaskar or a salute to the sun, or going for a walk around the block, or just breathing. Just get the body moving. And just remember that also small habits daily compound over time. You may have a cheeseburger today and you look in the mirror and you go, I don't know what all the fuss is. I clearly haven't got a donut gut. But if we have a cheeseburger every day, then that's going to have an impact on us health-wise. So make those healthy choices, and then over time, we're going to be rewarded for that, for a life full of health, happiness, and abundance. So just in conclusion to this webinar this evening, I realise that we've gone over time majorly, but I think there's been some really cool things that have been shared. I hope you guys can walk away from this evening with 3 tips that you can implement into your daily routine. And one of those could be making this Molicious blend and growing a fantastic Mo, being part of the BroTERRA Movember team and group, and donating to our Movember cause. So you can do that simply by jumping onto this website, moteam.co/BroTERRA. This is where all the doTERRA dudes are part of this group, and we really appreciate your support in our movements, our very horrible attempts, in my case, in growing a moustache, and just creating awareness in mental health, suicide prevention, and men's health in general. So thank you so much for joining us this evening, guys. Really appreciate it. I'm going to open up the forum now for anybody to ask any questions or share any tips that they'd like to do. And thank you once again.
Yeah, Byron, I got asked a question earlier about particular overall oils for the special needs side of things. So I just wanted to answer that. Some of the main ones that we tend to use with our boys, the vetiver is a big one. Copaiba is also one as well. Cedarwood, we're using a bit more at the moment, but probably the biggest thing to say about introducing oils to kids in general, but particularly special needs kids, is you've got to do it gently. You've really got to be able to even do just something as simple as opening a bottle in the room, not actually putting it on anything, not actually diffusing it. It's just opening a bottle and just seeing how kids on the spectrum actually respond to it. And so you can always progress from there, but you can't push it too hard too early, particularly with the sensory sensitivities that most of the special needs kids have. You've got to start out very gently and be able to work from there. And much like what the sentiments have been tonight about find your oil, and in a lot of ways the special needs kids will exaggerate that a lot more. They will definitely migrate towards the oils that work for them. But as I say, it's not necessarily about what definitely will work, because the spectrum in itself, let alone other special needs, is so broad that kids' needs are going to be so different. But another one we used a lot with the kids was the DigestZen. There's a lot of gut issues with special needs, particularly autism. And so using things like DigestZen to help settle things down, or even just feel better. You may not be able to address the underlying issue, but just to make them feel better will help ease that sensitivity a lot more. So yeah, that was any other questions about that side of things, the special needs side, or by all means just send another message or just yell out. And
That's awesome, Mike. Thank you so much, mate. I've just brought up this malicious blend once again for you guys to jot down. We've been using this, the Movember team, through Movember. And if anything, it's been smelling awesome for me. Rosemary, it's great for memory, and cedarwood grounding, arbor vitae as well. And I just wanted to also share one thing as well with you guys, is inviting you to reach out to the guys in your community. And, that could be part of your doTERRA community or not, just your local community, to connect at some point in November, and just have that open forum, to have the supportive forum where guys can just openly talk and ask questions, and be a shoulder to lean on for support as well. This is what it's all about, asking, are you okay? What can I do to help? Just talking things out. That's one thing that I'm so grateful for, in having such a supportive community in and out of doTERRA. Such good blokes that I love to call friends in the doTERRA community. And once again, really want to thank all the guys that have been involved in pulling this together, and all the great tips that you've shared, and everybody who's joined us. Let's keep the conversation going. You feel free to join our BroTERRA Australia New Zealand group. You've got the Facebook group down the bottom there. This is a forum where men can share ideas and maybe say some things that we wouldn't usually say around women as well. So yeah, there can be some cheeky and fun stuff in there too, as well as just having those conversations about some of the challenges we might be faced in what we do in sharing health and well-being. So thank you so much, everyone. Once again, I'm going to wind it up and bid you all farewell. Keep those mogs going, and we really love all of your support and showing up tonight. Thank you so much.
Thanks heaps, boys.
Good job, mate.
Thanks
so much.
for putting it all together, bro. Really appreciate it. It was a great call.
Thank you, guys. Thank you, Zach.
See you, man.
Cheers.
See you.
Bye.
Thanks, guys.